YouTube? What's going on? Your boy Young Mustard is back with another video. And before I get started, if you have not checked out my last video, make sure you go and check that out. I feel like the views are a little bit low, but without further ado, make sure you also hit that subscribe button and that bell. Also like the video. Let's shoot for 1,000 likes. Check out the latest episode of the Open Book podcast. But enough with all of the plugs. Let's get on to who is going to be the next face of the NBA. The first player that I want to talk about that I think a lot of people kind of leave out of the conversation is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum this year was sensational. This is a guy that went out there on a night-to-night basis, was able to score around 24 points a game and shot 40% from 3 on 7 attempts. But when I look at Jason Tatum, there are a lot of positives when it comes to him being the best player and the face of the league, but there are some things that are a little bit questionable. For one, he's not really in that conversation, and as much as some people may want him to be there, let's just be honest and face the facts, they just may not be pushing him because there are other players that are just more appealing to the casual fan, which we will get into a little bit later. But as I look at Jason Tatum, he has the skill set. I do believe one day he will be a champion and can be the best player on a championship team. As much as I hate the Boston Celtics, I can't deny the talent that they have on their rosters and the supporting pieces around Jason Tatum, such as Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, and even Daniel Tice. I think he's been relatively solid for them. So when you look at this team, they have a lot of good pieces around their best player in Tatum, and Tatum has all the tools to become that guy, but because of the media perception and the circus around other players in favor of him, I definitely don't see that as the likely scenario. But let's move on to the next player that we're going to talk about, and yes, let's talk about Luca Don Chooch. Luca Don Chooch definitely has the ability to be the best player in the world. This is a guy that is damn near averaging a 28-point triple-double in his second year in the NBA and is leading the Dallas Mavericks to one of the better years that they have had since the days of Dirk Nowitzki in the early and late 2000s. Combine that with his skill set that is very flashy and nice on a highlight reel, I think that more than suits a guy that can be the best player in the league. Now, the concerns for Luka Doncic taking up that role, let's be honest, he is not American, so it will be a little bit of a change in scenery for the NBA for them to enter in new waters if he took over the league as the best player and the face. And I know a lot of people are going to bring up Larry Bird, as he was arguably the face of the NBA and the best player, as he won 3 straight MVPs, 3-time champion, 2-time finals MVP. We all know his resume, as he's one of the greatest players of all time. But when you look at Larry Bird's scenario in comparison to Luka Doncic, it's a little bit different. Larry Bird came from the 80s, where in the 80s they were coming off of one of the worst times of basketball in NBA history. The 70s, where dudes were dying left and right and having their career shortened as if it was a broomstick due to crack. And because the NBA was desperate for anything, a lot of people credit Magic Johnson and Larry Bird for saving the league, and that definitely added onto the fuel of their rivalry. I mean, think about it. You don't mention Larry Bird and then Magic Johnson's name is not brought up just a few minutes later. I mean, I did that just now. Their names are intertwined forever because of the rivalry that they captivated in the 1980s. And considering that he had that guy to play off of, I don't really see somebody like that for Luka Doncic. So considering all of those factors, even though Luka Doncic has international appeal, I really don't see him becoming the face, but he does have a higher percentage chance than Jason Tatum. But another guy that I want to bring up is Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson, I think, probably has the highest chance to become the face of the league, really because of the media and the hype train around him. This is a guy that had immense hype and immense expectations from the moment that he was drafted as the first overall pick to the New Orleans Pelicans. And honestly, as I look at how the media has followed him throughout his time in the NBA already in the 19 games that he played, let's just be honest, ESPN, Fox Sports, every single sports talk show was talking about Zion, Zion, Zion. And considering how dominant he was in the games that he was playing and how dominant he was probably going to be had the season continued, there's a good chance he would have been able to snatch that Rookie of the Year award away from Ja Morant. I mean, think about it. In the beginning of the year, we were talking about Ja and Luka, sometimes the Bucks because they were amazing, and obviously LeBron. But from the moment Zion made his debut against the San Antonio Spurs, all the media talked about was Zion and LeBron James, the face of the NBA and the next face of the NBA. A coincidence? I think not. Looking at the hype that surrounded both of those players when they came into the league, from the moment LeBron touched a court in 2003 against the Sacramento Kings, you knew you were watching something special, and that's how you feel whenever you watch Zion Williamson, or at least that's just how I feel. I feel like I'm watching the beginning of one of the greatest careers in NBA history, which is just another reason why I'm so mad that the season came to an abrupt end the way it did due to the COVID-19 outbreak. But regardless, looking at Zion Williamson so far, in the minimal amount of games that he has played, he has shown signs that he can carry the league on his back as the face. And another thing that helps him are the pieces that he has around him, as he has a point guard in Lonzo Ball, who has been evolving over the past couple of years, and this year looks like he's finally being able to live up to some of that hype and potential that we all knew he showed at UCLA. Also, Brandon Ingram was a first-time All-Star this year. They have Drew Holiday to mentor the players. Derek Favors has been playing relatively solid, and hell, even Jackson Hayes, I know he hasn't been the greatest so far in his rookie season, but I do think he has some promise there. And even other promising role players on this team that are relatively young, and guys like Josh Hart and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So considering his team situation, I think that should not be a problem whatsoever, especially considering that they're all relatively young and they can all develop together. So with all of that being said, you would think that I have Zion as the for sure face of the league, but I have not talked about his health. His health and his body is something that I am a little bit concerned about. Actually, it is the #1 concern I have for Zion Williamson. Because think about it, he has already suffered a meniscus injury that kept him out multiple months in his rookie season, and considering the fact that his body doesn't really look like it's going to be changing anytime soon, as it is a huge factor in his game, I don't know how long his prime is going to be, or if he's going to have some steep decline similar to that of Shaquille O'Neal. And if that's the case, who knows if he's ever going to really be able to live up to that full potential. I mean, knock on wood, I don't want it to happen, but I still have to be realistic, because the facts just show with all that wear and tear over time, eventually your body will break down faster than others. He still does have a chance. It probably would be my #1 candidate, but because of the questions of durability, I have to give that conversation the side eye until proven otherwise. But going on to the next and final candidate for the face of the NBA, I gotta go with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis, my guy, Nigerian brothers representing MVP, on his way to getting that back-to-back MVP, probably gonna get Defensive Player of the Year. Could have led his team to 70 wins had he not gotten hurt, but will settle for over 65 wins. This is a guy that is one of the most dominant players that the league has ever seen, and he's only at the age of 25. If you don't think Giannis has a legit chance to be the face of the NBA, I think that you are sadly mistaken. There are really no true cons with having Giannis as your pick for the face of the league. I mean, when you look at Luka, you could say he's white. When you look at Zion, you could say he has injury problems. When you look at Tatum, you could say, he just may not be on the level of the other guys, but he's still really good. Well, in the case of Giannis, he's already an MVP. He doesn't look like he's going to have any injury problems, and he's only 25 years old. Another complaint that I know some people may have, and I think this is probably the most valid complaint about Giannis being the face, is his personality, because he doesn't really have that charisma and swagger to him like a Joel Embiid, or he doesn't really have that personable relationship like a LeBron James. But I think in this era of social media being so available to everybody, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I know Giannis is very popular on TikTok, and also just considering the fact that Kawhi Leonard literally blew up as a meme on Twitter because of his laugh in a press conference before he even won the championship, I think Giannis will be just fine. Keep in mind, I haven't even considered the international factor with him being from Greece and also having African roots. And I know a lot of people are going to say, I need him to win in the playoffs. It's not like those conversations don't matter and pertain to this argument, but LeBron James did not win his first championship until like his 7th, 8th year in the NBA. The winning will come, but not everybody is going to win coming out of the gates like Tim Duncan. The fact of the matter is, Giannis has proven time after time after time that he will take steps to getting better. He will play better in the postseason with more opportunities as he's done it throughout his entire career. Yes, one playoff series he didn't play up to his standards, but that should not define him for the rest of his career. It's ridiculous how people look at that series and say, oh, I need Giannis to show up in the playoffs first before we have that kind of conversation. No, Giannis Antetokounmpo, yes, he's had his struggles, but every all-time great goes through struggles. That's what makes you the all-time great. Overcoming those struggles and obstacles. For LeBron James, it was the Celtics and the blockage of not getting a championship with the Jordan expectations. For Kobe Bryant, it was getting a chip without Shaquille O'Neal. For Michael Jordan, it was overcoming the bad boy Pistons. And if you want to take it hella further back, you could look at Wilt Chamberlain as he was finally able to get over the hump known as Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics. All players, especially NBA legends, must go through downfalls and failures in order to make those victories and successes that much sweeter. So in the case of Giannis, if I had to pick somebody as the next face of the NBA, it would be him. But that concludes this video, you guys. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. I would love to know if you agree or disagree about who I think is the next face of the league. Don't forget to drop a like so I can keep making fire content, and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified. I'm out. Peace.